What up, Instagram? Okay, so today's topic. Okay, let's see how to stop. What's up? Okay, so today's topic. Hey, Angela. Okay, topic how to stop falling in love with his words, his potential, and getting your heart broken. Okay, make sure I spelled everything right. I think so. So perfect. Okay, there we go. All right, live on Instagram, live on Facebook. Facebook. I don't know what my internet's doing, but can you hear me? It may be a little bit shoddy out here in these streets. For some reason, my internet on Facebook it doesn't. It's not that good. But my internet on Instagram be popping, and maybe because I go live on both, that my social media is like, no, ma'am, we can't do two. I mean, my internet. So I am going to eventually go back to the old internet provider that I had because this new one is trash. Okay, I feel super professional today. Look, I got my little microphone. My dad bought me and everything. Yes. So I just want to make sure on Facebook, if you're watching, can you hear me? Can you type? I can hear you in the comments. And then on Instagram, I'm pretty sure you can hear me. And I'm gonna try to like not cover my mouth on Instagram. It's just the way you're set up and the way my computer setup is totally different. And I'm gonna try to not cover my mouth. So I have a guest today. I am excited for this lady to be on my show on Single You the Podcast. This is Single You the Podcast Live. If you're watching, welcome to my platform. My name is Rika, and I am a certified NLP life coach, aka the Single Girls Life Coach. And here's what I do. I help the frustrated, loyal woman who is tired of giving second chances stop the cycle of trusting he will change by helping her learn how to set and keep boundaries, right? Raise your hand if you need to learn how to actually keep a boundary when it comes to a man. Right now, you're in a cycle. You're used to him walking all over you. You're used to feeling frustrated. You're used to adapting to him. You're used to minimizing yourself just to be in that relationship. If that is you, then my platform is totally for you. And then, of course, if you are looking for coaching because you are looking to have that conversation, you're looking to discover your worth so you can really, truly learn how to set and keep a boundary, then I'm the coach for you. And I will talk about that here at the end of the conversation that I am going to have today with Kristen. I'm glad you like my new mic. Ain't it pretty? It's pretty. All right. So Tatiana Green is a speaker and a multimedia content creator with a passion for writing. In 2012, she launched her first blog called blissforsingles.com. She wanted to encourage millennial singles in faith and love. She has also written for several other websites, including blackandmarriedwithkids.com. I know that's right. Okay. In 2016, Tatiana published her first book, Journey to 30, a single woman's guide to living unapologetically without deadlines, and is currently working on her first fiction series as she embraces her 30s. The Chicago native, who, by the way, lives in Florida, plays and lives unapologetically for Christ in South Florida, as I just said. So let's welcome Miss Tatiana to the platform. Yay. So you're gonna have to take your mic off of mute. And I'm going to show you here on Instagram. Look at her beautiful face.
Hey, Instagram. Hey, Facebook family. What's up? Thank you, Rika, for having me.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for wanting to be part of this conversation. You and I met, I think it was definitely in COVID, maybe like a year ago now, when we were on a different platform at a church over Zoom, over StreamYard, just like this.
Yes.
And we were talking about being single in our 30s and everything. And you and I was just like, I need to talk to her. I like her. I like her. I love talking to other women who have been on the same journey as I have. And then you have arrived at a place where you're like, you know what? I'm single. And so what? Okay.
And so what?
All right. I'm gonna wait for God's best in everything. Oh, thank you,
Right.
Kristen. Okay. Kristen saying she's so excited to hear this conversation. So thank you so much.
Yay.
And she's
Let's get
like,
into
my neck
it.
was good. Exactly. So so you're in your 30s. I think I'm a little bit older than you, right? Because I'm 38. How old are you?
Yeah, I'll be 35 this
Okay.
October.
Okay, perfect. So I could be like, yep, just a little bit older sister.
Just a tinge. Yes, I love
Yeah.
it.
And by the
It's a
way, I must
blessing.
say that I went to Florida for part of my birthday tour that I went on. It was Alabama, then Atlanta, and then
Oh,
Florida.
nice. I love
And
it.
I was so, yeah, I was so far away from you that I couldn't visit. But because a lot of people, Florida is long. Yeah. But I was so mad. And that was like my fourth time being in Florida, of course. But I was just so like, I'm hating because everybody says, "Oh my God, you're from Seattle. It rains there all the time." Da 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 da. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Yes, it's cloudy. I'll give you that. But when I was there, the freaking 4 days I was there, it stormed every day.
Yeah,
What is that
yeah.
about? Now listen, it would storm and then the people were like, "Oh, it'll be gone in like an hour." And they were right. And then it would be
Hmm.
sunny again. But are you used to that, Tatiana?
Yo, I'm used to it now. Like when I was little and I would visit Florida, I'd be like, why is it raining on and off like that? This is not normal. But now that I live here, it's like we are in the middle of hurricane season. Hurricane
Yes.
season is from the end of May to like November. So you are going to see that sporadic rain. You're going to get those really exaggerated threats of thunderstorms, hurricanes, and all that. People freak out. People buy up a whole bunch of stuff, trying to stock up to be safe. So it's normal around this time of year.
It is just no, 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 no. It's not normal.
And it's
So
disrespectfully humid too, by the way.
I mean, and you know what? Actually, my curls definitely flourished in when I was in
That's
the South,
good.
and I was wondering about that. But I will say I do have to wash it. So when I'm in Washington State, it's once a week. But when I was in Florida or in Alabama, then Atlanta, then Florida, it was like every 3 days. They look good. They look but anyway, I did have a good time, and I just wanted to mention that because you are in Florida, and I love it. So
Yes.
let's hop into it. We're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull this up just so for people watching. And Haley, I do see your comments, and I'm gonna read those in a second. But first, I want to put this up here. So the topic today: how to stop falling in love with his words, his potential, and getting your heart broken. And when I invite somebody as a guest on Single You the podcast, I always ask them questions about their journey through singleness, dating before they decided to, you know what, singleness is not a punishment and I'm good. Um, I always ask questions about the journey. And then through those questions that I ask in the form that I have you fill out, that's how I come up with the title of the topic.
Okay.
And this is what resonated with me that was happening in your relationships in the past, in
Mhm.
your 20s, right?
Yes.
And so we're going to go through that journey to where, as I do with all my guests, to where Tatiana is now, like I said, she knows that she's worthy regardless of her relationship status. She doesn't need a man to complete her. That you complete me BS is not true. And so we're going to go through that journey. And I'm going to ask you the first question that I ask every guest is this: who had a conversation with you about what makes a healthy relationship versus toxic? What is healthy hard versus dysfunctional? Had anybody ever had a conversation with you about relationships growing up?
No, to answer that question, definitely not in the way of like making the difference between healthy relationship and dysfunctional relationship. I learned it through watching what was dysfunctional, with family. My family has a generational cycle of divorce and infidelity, and that was to me one of the things that kind of led to what I do now in terms of ministering to singles because of that pain in the cycle that God wants me to break. So it's not just on me, but there was something in me that really sparked that purpose. Like, oh, all this hurt, all this pain from that experience. Like, even as a kid witnessing it, I was like, I don't want to. I remember at 13 saying this, like, I don't want my peers, I don't want my siblings to have to experience this. So that's definitely one of
Mhm.
the catalyst behind what I do for Bliss for Singles.
Yeah, and your mindset is kind of like mine in that way. And the reason why that's the first question I always ask is because I'm trying to prove a point. And so far so good. 99.9% of people I talk to are like, no, my parents did not. um,
Right.
because we don't focus on that. We don't focus
Mm-hmm.
we focus on, you got to graduate from high school, you got to go to college, and then get these kind of benchmarks in life, right? Like, and then by the
Mm-hmm.
time you're 22 and a half, you should be married or whatever. But we don't
Uh-huh.
focus on the
Yeah.
thing that is so important and detrimental to our life, which is knowing who we are, and then also relationships, and knowing the difference between the BS and stuff that we don't have to go through, which is the dysfunction and the toxic,
Mm-hmm.
and the healthy hard, which is true healthy compromise, learning yourself, mirroring
Yeah.
that with your husband or wife or what have you. Nobody teaches us that. And so, because of that, because nobody taught you, do you feel like that was the thing that led you down this path of, we'll say, dysfunctional relationships?
Yeah, definitely. Because if you're working around ignorant of what could be good and what could be bad, you're just gonna take anything. And if you don't have enough self-esteem, if you don't have boundaries, if you don't know who you are in Christ, like yeah, you're gonna just let things happen to you, unfortunately. And so that was my case in a few relationships. But there was one in particular that we'll talk about today that
Of course.
definitely
Of
relates to
course.
this topic.
Of course. And we are going to transition into that. But before we get into that, I want to ask you, just so people understand, because I've been single and celibate for, it'll be 3 years just this December. Look, I'm already rounding it up. I'm like 3 years, like,
That's right. That's right.
right.
Round it
I
up.
stopped saying 2.5 like a month ago. I was like, you know what? I'm going to just say 3 because I'm going to make it, baby. December is tomorrow. What's up?
That's what's up.
Right. So, how long have you been single?
Yes, it's been like since January 2014. So it's been a good
Yeah.
7 years, oh, going on 7.5. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. To me, like the time went by kind of fast, though. I'm not going to
Yeah.
hold you.
And right, like, and then I know that you had said in the questionnaire, you had said that you hadn't even kissed anybody since 2014. And
No.
has it been, do you feel like your journey 7 years in of being single, do you feel like your journey has been hard or easy?
I think it's been easy because of God's grace. I think I can only credit God with that because oftentimes when we learn enough, like I bumped my head so many times, I was like, let me take a step back. I definitely remember praying in my late grandma's kitchen about what kind of relationship I really wanted and what I was willing to go through the process for. So God and I, we have that kind of conversation
Yeah.
often. So I, by faith, I just believe that what He has for me is His best for me, and I don't want to settle for that because I know what settling looks like. I know what having dysfunction looks like. On seeing it and actually being in it, participating in it. So I had to, endure the process, and the process may not be easy, but there are so many. I guess you could say byproducts of enduring God's process, and one of them is peace. So I can't emphasize that enough, that there is a peace that comes with it. It's like you're not trying to strive to be in a relationship that's premature. You're not trying to force things or try to make things happen with somebody who's not for you. Um, all sorts of things. So it's been a blessing, honestly. And that's why I feel like I still look like I'm in my 20s. Part of that is that I'm not stressed out. I'm not trying to
Right.
worry about some random man who's not my husband cheating on me or doing the most out here in these streets. Tatiana sleeps well at night. Okay.
So let me tell you, like, when you finally transition over to the thought process that I'm worthy regardless, when you finally lean on God. So for those that are watching, and if you've been on my platform for a while, I'm a Christian, which sometimes I hate that word because I feel like Christians get a bad, there are Christians who give us a bad name. So I will say
Mhm.
this, I'm a Jesus follower. And when I finally decided um, to lean on Jesus, you're right, it's so peaceful for me, especially because of where I live. It ain't hard. I ain't attracted to nobody over here. Ain't nobody talking to me. And in fact, like, one of my prayers in 2018, getting out of the $10,000 boyfriend, which if you've been on my platform, you've heard that story before. And if you haven't, send me a DM, I'll send you the podcast. But after that, I was like, you know what, God, this is what we about to do. Hide me from everybody.
Oh
Hide
yes,
me.
yes, I love those
Hide me.
prayers.
I said, I don't want any man to hit on me that's not for me.
That
So
part.
hide me. I didn't want to see. And when I tell you it worked, up until like it's so weird because now January 2021, I feel like now men are kind of coming out of the woodworks. So I'm like, God, are you trying to tell me something? Am I ready? Am I whatever? Right. So I prayed. I was like, I don't want to be hit on. I don't want to be told I'm beautiful. I don't want anything in my DMs. I didn't want any of that. So that was definitely my prayer because again, when you have the mindset where we are now, that you are worthy regardless of your relationship status, it doesn't really phase you anymore that you're not with anybody. Like who cares, you know? And right. And so I know that you obviously have been down this journey of being in some toxic relationships, dysfunctional relationships. So let's talk about that. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? So the one in particular, because I know you have a few, but we'll just talk about the one. How did you meet him? How how did you fall in love head over heels for you to be in a situation like this? Because today's topic is how to stop falling in love with his words, his potential, and getting your heart broken, which is what happened to you. So let's talk about the beginning. How was it in the beginning?
It was through a mutual friend. One of my best friends to this day was best friends with him. So when I would go over to her house, I would see him, and I just, developed a little crush and whatnot. And he wasn't in the same like area as I was. He had moved. He had. It was like a few years had passed since we had met, but a few years passed. He wanted to get back in touch with me, so we started like developing a friendship that turned into like the talking phase. Because this was like 10 years ago. So this is before Zoom and all these great advancements in technology. We had Skype. So shout out to my Skype users,
I feel
people
like
who were.
MySpace too. Like we might as well shout out MySpace. Like,
Yes. Like
right.
you were there before all this FaceTime was a thing. We was on Skype, honey. So it was great. Yeah, it was great because he had so many great things to share with me, right? One of the things that I remember was like he made a playlist for me. Like he told me anyway that he was a music producer. So he had produced tracks for me that had my name on them. Like he had sent me songs. He said he wrote he like, I don't know if he was on a song, like he sang a song with Trey Songz child. I don't know if that's true to this day.
Right.
No idea. So there's just a bunch of stuff that I was starting to enjoy and get to know him and just be more open to be myself with him. And so the more time you spend with someone, the more emotional bond you set with that person. So I started to see myself falling in love with this guy. And I could say like he was the only one I could say I fell in love with. And it was to the point that I was willing to just kind of like overlook certain things because I was like, well, we're just gonna get together. We're gonna get married one day. He's definitely my husband. Woo woo woo, and just thinking about all the potential of what could be, all the things that he said or what seemed like he was going to make good on that he didn't. One of the red flags that kind of popped up in the relationship
So
that
that
I
is
over.
hold on,
Oh,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
pause you right there because that's what I'm gonna ask, right? So again, today's topic is how to stop falling in love with his words and his potential and then getting your heart broken, right? Because I want you to hear what Tatiana is about to say. All of these red flags that she passed over, although he was making the mixtapes, and listen, if you are a true millennial, if you was born in the 80s like me and Tatiana, mixtapes from a dude with love songs,
Listen.
that was everything, right? Like everything. So I can totally understand how you're like falling for his words. Well, he's saying this, so it must be true because people don't lie.
Right,
You know what
right.
I
Like,
right.
like men lie, but not this one.
Not this one. Because I
He's
lie.
different. He's
Right.
different, right? My
Because I
internal
got the
bias is
butterflies
giving him more chances than I should. Yeah,
projecting all this future, your future pacing with him already.
facts.
And there's so many things that you passed up. So now let's get into those because I want somebody listening right now. And this is what I try to do on my platform all the time is have these conversations with you that our parents didn't, right? What is healthy
Mhm.
hard versus toxic and dysfunction? The things that you need to be following your gut on. I saw a meme the other day and I definitely retweeted it and stole it. And it was like, stop trying to love the red flags out of somebody.
Ooh, child, yes, that's word.
I was like, and that's all I need to say. I can end the conversation now. But so let's talk about those red flags that you did pass up while you're falling in love with him.
Yeah. Before I get into that, I just want to say like how often like in Christian faith, like we like to talk about love and how it perseveres, how it holds on, how it's long suffering. Do not misconstrue that with just falling for potential and giving people upteen chances. There's a thin line between I forgive you, you can come back into my life, and I forgive you, but you cross these boundaries and we're not going to move on from here. There's a thin line. You have to make sure you know exactly what your standards are and your boundaries are. And I didn't have those in this relationship.
So
What?
So hold on, because you went there, and I love using scripture against Christians because that's the problem. We think love is this fairy tale thing, right? And I always tell people, love does not mean stay. When in the Bible did God tell you to be a doormat? I'm confused. The Bible says
Where?
love cast out all fears. The Bible does
Mhm.
say love is patient and love is kind, but baby girl, is he even kind to you? Is he even, do you really think, right, in this situation that
Right.
we're talking about in the red flags that you passed up, and for those listening, do you really think he is God's best for you? I be
Come on
like,
now.
and listen, no judgment. Y'all know I say that all the time. I've been, unfortunately, I lost my mind from between the years of 2015 and 2017 over a dude. But when I look back, this is how I wish somebody would have talked to me. This
Mm,
is how I wish I understood my Bible. I just had a conversation right here on this platform yesterday. How you and I see love differently. Not you as in Tatiana, but my viewers, my listener, the girl, my ideal client. You see love differently, and that's why you frustrated, and that's why you keep getting abused and disrespected. You and I see love differently, sweetheart. And you think that the love that you were giving this man is the biblical love. It is not. It is not.
no.
Go back and read your
Mm-mm.
Bible. Exactly. So, okay, go ahead. I just had to put a
Thank
pin in that. Exactly.
thank you for adding that. It's so important because it's like I don't know. But for me, I was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna, be the good person and be the good girlfriend or try to, I guess, show my worthiness to this guy by tolerating the BS. And some of the red flags were him just dropping off the face of the earth randomly. And then I don't hear from him at all for days, sometimes weeks on end. And you're probably thinking, like, why did she stay with someone who didn't talk to her for weeks? I was in the zone, y'all. Like I was telling you I was in love. So to me, I thought that, it was one of those fairy tale things, like Rika said, like you feel like love conquers all, and there has to be a way to make this work. He was also a father, so he had a young child. He's going through baby mama drama, and so and dysfunction in his own family. So some of the red flags in those situations kind of like came up as well, and I kind of overlooked it. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be with someone who is a parent already, because that's the reality of our situation today. But if you know that he doesn't have a healthy relationship with the parent, or if he's still married or he's separated, right? And he's not yet divorced, you probably need to wait that out, as in not wait for him to get
Yeah.
divorced, like just
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
Because if he's still married, boo boo, like he's not going to get with you the legal way, the proper way. You got to give some kind of incentive to being with you, right? And if he's got you now while he's in a relationship with someone else legally, then what would slow him down? I mean, like what would make him want to drop his previous situation? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so he was divorced already, but it was just a red flag to me. Like he was just going through this drama with his family, and it was causing him to drop off the face of the earth. There was no real conversation as to why he would do that. It was a lot of emotional abandonment. And as someone who has come from a broken home, from divorced parents, I've already experienced the emotional abandonment. So it was compounded on top of this. So I already, in my subconscious, was familiar with this behavior. So I was just like, well, I'm going to be different. I'm going to be different. I'm going to make it work. Not having the real skills and knowledge and revelation of what was happening, right? Because it's like sometimes we want different. Maybe you're like me, or you're like Rika, or you had a past, or maybe your parents split up, or maybe you never had parents who were married, and you're just like, I want to be that cycle breaker. I want to be the person who has the long lasting marriage. And so you, in your attempt to try to make things right, you still end up in the same cycles. Well, it's because you didn't have the proper revelation and time to really look at what are you doing.
Right.
That's encouraging the cycle to continue. So I was starting to see that. Well, I saw that like after I got out of the relationship.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those moments where I was like literally falling into the trap of what I saw previous generations of my family do. And I was like, whoa, this isn't
You
God.
didn't know again, because you didn't know any better. And so in me proving my point and asking the question that I always ask, did anybody sit you down and have this conversation with you about what makes a healthy relationship versus toxic? And then also teaching you, because we're very critical of the church, right? Like church,
Right.
society, or whatever, they do not focus on the single season. It's just like, okay, high school, maybe college, but then you better get married and have some kids. Otherwise, you are deemed not worthy. You are deemed unlovable. You are deemed, oh, something must be wrong with you because you're single.
Right.
So what's going on, girl? Just pick one. Like, no, we don't take getting to know ourselves first and then getting to know what healthy relationships are. We do not take that seriously, period. And I love that you brought up love. And I do see that there are a lot of questions. And so I'm going to save those for the end. Haley, and then I see Facebook user. I don't know your name because you would have to click the StreamYard link to let me see your name. And so I'll answer those questions as we get closer to the end, and we have about maybe 25 more minutes. So hopefully you'll stick around, but I really do appreciate you watching. I love this. Okay, so let's talk about love, because you said something I remember to me when we were offline, and I do want to talk about this, just put a pin in it. You said that we think love is enough, right? Right, like that's, oh, but I love him, so now I'm going to stick around and make him change. And so when you said, why would I stick around and talk to somebody who wasn't calling me? Well, that's why, because you thought that that was love. Well, I'm supposed to. That's what I'm supposed to do because I love him and he loves me, and we're supposed to make it work. When this baby was literally disrespecting you and manipulating you in this relationship, but you didn't know any better. And what was it, Tina Turner? Didn't she say, what love got to do with it?
What's love got to do with it, right?
What is love? And so I say that to say, do you feel like that was you? Like in this relationship, you felt like, well, I love him, he loves me, so I need to make it work.
Yeah, that's what I definitely thought. Like all those Skype conversations, all those phone calls, in my mind, because I was so lost in the sauce of love, quote unquote, that I just kind of accepted the behavior that, oh, like this good stuff outweighs this bad stuff, this glaring red flag bad stuff. Like me not talking to you since Father's Day, and I don't hear from you till like after August. And then we're still in a relationship.
Right. I'm like, did they change the date of Father's Day? But I believe it is in June, and you didn't hear from him. Wow. Yeah. And again, no judgment, because I've definitely had my share of jumping through hoops and tap dancing for men, thinking, oh, this is love. So now, okay, so obviously this relationship was trash. Would you say, like, this is not a relationship? Yeah.
Horrible.
Right. And
0 out of 10.
Yeah. So how long did it last? And then I want to know, how did you get out of this relationship?
Okay, it's all right, y'all. Don't judge me, y'all. Don't judge me.
But I was in that dysfunctional, abusive ass relationship for 2 years, so I ain't got no judgment.
Okay, so I think it started in like early part of 2011. So by the time Labor Day came around, which is September, I had drove all the way from the top of Illinois, like Chicago, all the way down to the bottom, because that's where he was at the time with his friends. He was staying in the house with his friends. I drove with my best friend at the time, and she tolerated sleeping in a car so that I could be comfortable sleeping in like the same room as my boyfriend at the time. Here's the thing, Rika. We did not have that conversation about, oh, will you be my girlfriend? Will you be my boyfriend? I kind of like forced the relationship to happen because in my mind of minds, I'm like, I went out this way. I went through so much like, with waiting for you. We've been talking so much. Like, what are we waiting for? And I found out that same weekend that I forced this relationship to be a thing after several months of getting to know him, of, falling for him. I found out that he smoked. And I don't really do the smoking thing.
Right.
I don't smoke. I don't tolerate that. So, and it's like he hid it from me, and I saw his face, and it's like he was ashamed of me finding out that he had this other life, that he was a smoker, and he like it was just kind of, that was a red flag too. Those are like two red flags. Like, one, he's not bringing up the relationship conversation with you or where you guys stand in your relationship, and if he's trying to hide something from you, yeah, that's a huge red flag. Because like, what else are you hiding? Like, you could have told me up front that you were smoking. We could have had a conversation about that. But you know what I'm saying? So like that was like cringe when I think about doing that. But I was like, ooh, me girl, me now. What? we haven't had. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, because we like you said, you're trying to force this because your mindset back then was, well, I need to get married, so I guess it's gonna be you. Like, okay, we just gonna make this happen because we have. Don't you have to get married? Because I do too. Because society puts this pressure, and unfortunately, it's more on the women. But yeah, so now it's like when we're dating, I know you. I'm sure you do the same. I am like, I don't even want. I honestly want to skip over the girlfriend phase, and just really get to know a man as a friend first.
That's
like,
good.
how
Yeah.
are we as friends? And I want to treat you and talk to you the way that I talk with like my best friend Tony, my best friend Darnell. Like, I'm done. I'm done acting like having a romantic relationship is different than having a friendship. It's not, except for like we have sex. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so okay. And for me, that's, I've been definitely celibate. Like I said, it'll be 3 years in December. And so that is gonna be probably till marriage. I'm still praying on that and trying to figure that out. But
Keep her, Lord, keep her.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely not going to be 3 months. It's definitely not going to be as your girlfriend. Like, I'm not doing that anymore. But anyway, my point was, we have to stop thinking that we can force a man into being who we want him to be and not really trying to get to the bottom of his character. Like, yeah, that
Right.
does suck. You didn't even know he smoked. And if he smokes heavy, that's something that you probably should have known in the first week or so of knowing him. And so again, we're not taking relationships seriously. We're not. We think it's so easy. And I know you've said that before. Like, we speak on that. Like, you have said to me before, like, people think relationships are just so easy when they're not.
Yeah, I was saying like we try to spell relationships and spell love, like real love, like LOVE, when it's actually WORK. Like, you have to do the work, whether you're single, whether you're dating, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're out of a relationship, there's going to be work, in every stage of your life. I can't stress that enough. So it's like, as many singles honestly try to avoid doing the work as a single because they think that, oh, I'll just put it off and I'll solve that problem, that issue when I get married. No, boo boo, it's going to be highlighted and it's going to get bigger and magnified in your marriage. And now you're bringing unnecessary issues and ticks that could have been addressed a while ago into your marriage. Now, like, I don't want to do this extra labor for my spouse because he was too lazy to address his own stuff. Like, I've gotten to that point where kind of like, yo, we're going to have to keep it real with each other. And that's something that I didn't do in that relationship. I didn't ask enough of those, those standard questions that should be asked, which is kind of like, it's almost like it's taboo to ask those questions, but those are questions that you should ask. Like, when's the last time you've been tested for STD, STI? Like, what's your blood type? We need to know those things. It even gets down to the bio. Hello? Do you smoke? Do you drink? What's up?
Right. And so, in this relationship, I believe I know the answer, but I always ask this question as well, with women who have been in these toxic, dysfunctional relationships, is, were you good at setting boundaries with men?
No, not this one. It was like, okay, he understood my boundary. We were still like, we didn't do anything in terms physically because we were at a physical distance. So
Okay.
there was no temptation for that, thankfully. But as far as the emotions, there were no boundaries. There were no walls up. You know, there was like nothing, because I was so infatuated with him. I so loved him that I wanted to give him a chance over and over. And so I didn't have those boundaries that were like, yo, you didn't call me after X amount of days. I don't even know where you are. You fell off the face of the earth. No posts on social media, nothing. You asked earlier, like, how long was this relationship? It lasted like not too long at all, actually, because again, I forced it. I tried to make fetch happen, right? So it started in early September, probably like in November, like I was done talking to him, but I actually broke it off the following year in that February. What was one of the things for me? It's kind of funny, but I'm serious about it. I just saw a post about it too. That my birthday rolled around. My birthday's in late October, and so I didn't hear anything from him all day. No text, no call, no carrier pigeon, no Nathan. And then I get a basic Facebook post on my wall. Happy birthday. Nothing special, no gifts, no pictures, no status, nothing, just a simple happy birthday. And that was towards the end of the night, by the way. That wasn't in the morning. That wasn't at midnight like my friends do, who call me at midnight on my birthday. Like, it was you're my boyfriend, you're my man, and you out here.
Right. I bet you to him you weren't, because you said you guys had never had that conversation, right? So you had never even established like, we're exclusive, you're my boyfriend or whatever. You were just constantly trying to make him become something that he never said he even wanted to be. So that's a lesson for you listening, for you watching. And if you feel like, yo, I'm this woman who is always frustrated because I'm loyal to a man who I have to give second and third and fourth and fifth and 72nd chances to, and now you feel depleted, you feel like you're minimizing yourself, you are not even having conversations that establish something. And even if you do, guess what? Men lie, women lie, all of that. People lie, right? And so that is where the boundaries come in. Because it is in your boundaries that you show yourself you love yourself. It is in your boundaries that you show yourself you know that you are worthy regardless. But when we're dating, the reason why we minimize ourselves, the reason why we're walking on eggshells, the reason why we don't want to speak up, we're navigating drama all the time, is because we are so afraid to be single. We are so afraid to lose him. But I wanted to be him. But baby, he's giving you scraps. You know how like
that's what it was.
You know how some people will eat their food and the scraps they give to their dogs? That's what he's giving you. Scraps to string you along. Let me tell her happy birthday at 11:58 p.m. on her birthday. That's scraps. And
it's terrible.
So glad. Yeah, like I'm so glad that you, or even like disappearing. Like I've heard a lot of Adriana, who you've met, she's been on when we did my pillow launch. Same thing with her boyfriend. He would disappear for like weeks. And then come back and be like, hey, baby, you know, my bad, And she was just taken back because she wanted that relationship so badly with him.
Yes. That's a word right there. When you want that specific person or that specific relationship so bad, you're willing to go through hell and high water, literally, for that person. But where's the effort for you? Where is the consistency though? He was consistent at disappearing. I was telling you earlier that I call that relationship too much of not enough. And at some point you had to come to that realization that you were boo-boo the fool. And you can't always put the blame on the other person. You have to take inventory of your own actions and be like, I did this, I allowed this to happen, I didn't have boundaries here, I didn't do this, and not like beat yourself up, but to be accountable. Because a lot of women, unfortunately, don't want to have that conversation with themselves, but that's a part of self-care, that's a part of healing, that's a part of getting to that point, that process that I was talking about earlier, to the kind of relationship that you do want. One that's healthy, because a healthy relationship, you will have moments where they're going to check you and hold you accountable, and you can't look at everything to blame, but what you're doing. So I just want to make sure that people know that, because we can try to dip and dodge the Holy Spirit and God's word all we want to, but when you get in that relationship that you claim you want, and he calls you out on something that you know God's been telling you to change, it's on you.
It's on you. I don't let my clients skate. That's what so inside of Single You Academy, which is my online group coaching program, like I don't let you skate. I'm not here to baby you and you be codependent on me and me say, oh yeah, it was him, girl, it was him, it was him. No, it was not right for my boyfriends to abuse me, for my boyfriend to take $10,000 away from me. But guess what? I let him.
Yeah, you gotta own up to those parts.
Because you show people, you teach people how to treat you. So
Correct.
him disappearing, him coming back and you still being with him you letting him do whatever, walk all over you, do drugs, do this, do that, and you don't like it, and you try to set the boundary but then you don't keep it. He is learning.
That's a
He
big
is
one.
learning. Oh, I could
That is
disrespect the hell out this woman. She don't care. She ain't woman up. She ain't woman enough. I can just treat her like a rag doll, throw her around, just tell her I love her, and she'll stay.
wow.
Think about that. Think about how this man is disrespecting you and you're just letting him.
That
And again,
happens so often.
it happens
hmm
so much with us because again, we don't have these conversations, right? And I say
hmm
it with love because I done told you between 2015 and 2017, I lost my damn mind. But that's why I'm trying to pull you out of it, and you as in you watching. So if this is resonating with you, if you feel like, yo, oh my God, I'm constantly minimizing myself for a guy. I'm constantly walking on eggshells. I'm loyal, but I am frustrated. I'm tired of trusting he will change and he never does. I don't even trust myself to set a boundary and then keep it. So now you just
hmm
like, well, I can't even set a boundary because he, da, 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 mm-mm. It may be, I
hmm
would argue that it may be time for you to leave. And now, speaking of leave, Tatiana, let's talk about how you got out of this cycle, what you learned about yourself, because I know you were like, I didn't even know who I was. So,
hmm
how did we get out of this cycle, and how did you start discovering who you were as a single woman?
For sure. After bumping my head with that relationship, for sure, it was in another relationship after that. It was like I had to really take some time off from trying to date and try to be in relationships because I didn't want to have that sense of that I was consistently failing. I guess that's the perfectionist in me. But part
Yeah.
of me was also not seeing what I believed that I could have. Even though my self esteem was not where it is today, I always had in my heart of hearts that I could have God's best for my life in terms of the relationship because there was always some kind of prophetic word that I would get about marriage or something like that. And then I'm in this space where I'm like reaching out to singles in from a Christian perspective, and it's like, well, can that happen for me? Absolutely. So I had to just let God process me. And some of that was dealing with loneliness, dealing with lust, dealing with my trauma, dealing with setting up boundaries, dealing with like just personal relationships that I have with my family, my friends, coworkers, and just becoming more self-aware, which is one of my favorite lessons to teach to people who are, especially those who are approaching their 30s. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna make all kind of mistakes in your 20s because there's this mentality that you grown and you can do whatever. Now you're not grown yet for real. Even at this age, I look at 20-year-olds as like, so like they're babies, but not like to disrespect them. I'm just like, they're so young, there's so much potential that they have, but just become more self-aware. Like, what are your flaws? Like, what are the areas that you fall prey to? Where are you lacking in boundaries? Because those could be those blind spots that could keep you from really living a more fulfilled life. And like I said earlier, I'm like not stressed about relationships, even though I'm single. I wouldn't be as stressed, I wouldn't be as stressful. I mean, stressed less if I was in a relationship like that was toxic because I wanted to be loved so bad. I had to be okay with being alone for a season. And after 7 years, I'm not pressed about it. I'm at this place where I'm like, look, if God wants me to have kids and be married, it's going to happen when it's going to happen. Like, there's so many people that are single out here in the streets, and I understand why. But I don't blame them for that either. It's like, you just got to let God have his way.
Yeah.
So it could happen next year. It could happen in 5 years from now. I have decided that I will trust God and I will not be overcome. So that to me helps me be more unapologetic about this season of my life.
I love it. Gina says, here, let me stop this. Okay, so Gina's watching and she says, I can no longer point the fingers. And she's talking about at men. I'm usually the common denominator in all of those bad relationships. Thank you for your honesty. Exactly.
No problem.
Exactly. And I'm not saying that it is right for people to treat you the way that they have treated you, but you taught them that it was okay. You taught
Hmm.
them that. And we have to learn how to woman up and set our boundaries. And I love how you said, get to know who you are, what you want. And so the 4 pillars that I teach inside of Single You Academy, which the doors are open right now. And I want you to send me a message if you're interested in coaching and you're ready to invest in yourself. Yes, with money. It's not free. If you're not ready to invest in yourself, then I may not be the coach for you. But so inside of Single You Academy, we go through 4 pillars. It's learning who you are. Deeper than your favorite color is blue. And excuse me. And I say that because you like long walks on the beach. Your favorite color is pink. You like heels. You like makeup. But what are your triggers? What type of guy do you actually need that is going to help you deliver your purpose? Because you were not sent here on this earth to be in this human form to marry a man. That is not your purpose. Nope. Nope. I want you to go ahead and read First Corinthians chapter 7 when Paul was talking to the Corinthian church and when he was talking about marriage and singleness. And chapter 8, in verse 8, he says, it is actually to my widows and to my singles, it is better to be single. It is better. And he said, because you can actually focus on your purpose more. And he wasn't knocking marriage. He said, if you have a fire inside of you, go ahead and get married. But you need to always be focused on your purpose. And what is that? So who are you, baby girl? Who are you? Better than, well, I need 8 hours of sleep because when I get 3, I got an attitude. You need more. And so I want to kind of stick there real quick. Tatiana, do you feel like you had to go on that journey to figure out who you were deeper than your favorite color is? Insert color.
Yeah, and again, tying back to your first question about us not being like taught what healthy and dysfunctional relationships are, the difference between. I say in my book that my parents kind of set me up on this trajectory that, oh yeah, you go to high school, after you graduate, you go to college, and after that you get a good job, and then after that you get married. But what if that doesn't happen in that timeline that they kind of indoctrinated your mind to have?
Yep.
And then you have this mix of emotions like, oh, maybe all my friends are getting married, or oh, I'm not meeting this deadline because I've been performing all my life. I've been having this false sense of Christianity or faith where it's like I have to do good works to earn God's love. And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother thing. But it was like a blend of those issues that created this mess that led to me making decisions that were not okay. So I had to let God reveal those things to me over time. And so if you let God process you, he will gently reveal to you some of the stuff that you may have tolerated and the why. That context is important to him and it's important to you because you'll make better decisions that way. And also think of your purpose as a single person can adjust over the course of your life. You may have different assignments, different seasons, different things that he may bring in your way. And you'll have a purpose in your marriage too, because godly marriages have purpose. So you just don't want to just marry just anybody because your clock is ticking or because you're desperate or because you're lonely. There is a God-given purpose for your relationship, for your marriage. So you can't just be out here with just anybody. You can't just marry just anybody because they're in the church or because they got recommended by your favorite Christian person in your life.
Girl, and I had to learn that the hard way. Just because you go to church don't mean that your character is intact. It doesn't mean that your character is good enough for me.
Where's the
And
fruit?
yeah, and listen, we're all God's children, right? And I think God just be like, baby girl, yes, that's my son, but that's not the one I have for you. So
Correct.
no,
I love
no,
that.
leave him be, And
Yes.
Gina says, thank you so much for the live. Gina, you're so welcome. If you feel like you are a frustrated, loyal woman who's tired of giving second chances, and you want to learn how to discover your worth, and you want to learn how to set and keep boundaries with men, and you want to hire a coach and you're ready to invest in yourself, go ahead and send me a DM here on Instagram and on Facebook. As you're watching this, I want you to DM me if you're like, yo, Tatiana and Rika are literally telling my story and I don't know how to get out. I'm drowning and I need a life vest. I need that lifeboat. I got you. So go ahead and send me a DM. You can literally just send me boundaries, and I will know exactly what you're talking about. It's not like I'm gonna be like, why is this girl DMing me boundaries? This don't make no kind of sense. Come on, this is my job. I am an NLP certified life coach, and this is what I do. So, okay, so that was the first pillar that I teach inside of Single You Academy. The second is um, knowing what you want and how to get it. Because we know what we want. If I asked any woman watching, even if she's frustrated and she's constantly minimizing herself, and I would, if I asked her, what kind of relationship do you want? And of course she would say healthy. If I was like, healthy or dysfunctional, of course you're going to say healthy. But the problem is you don't know how to get it. You don't know how to get it. And so that's what we go through in Single You Academy. So that's two. Number three is, and then I will inject you, because iron sharpens iron, with the audacity to believe that you can get what you want. With that
Yes.
audacity, God wants us to have that
Yes.
audacity. Like, you know what I mean? Like the way God would deal with the devil, when the devil would try to tempt him, God,
Come
Jesus would be
on.
like,
Come on.
anyway. You know what I mean? And so we need to be doing that with men who we know are not going to help us fulfill our purpose. They're not going to be supporters. They're not who God has for us, instead of settling. And so, and the last thing, of course, is the patience to wait for it, because that's what we do. We settle because we want to be with a man
Mhm.
so bad. That guy.
Mm-mm-mm.
Sometimes for me, I was good at like dodging other men, but for some reason, it was two men that had me all locked up for some
Mhm.
reason.
Yeah.
And the reason was, obviously not knowing myself and all of that. So I do want to go through some of these questions.
Mhm.
Um, Haley says, could you give me advice on feeling incomplete when I don't have a man, and it reflecting on my self-confidence?
Okay. Thanks, Haley, for that question and for tuning in with us. I would definitely, what comes to mind first is that you're not incomplete because you don't have a man or you're single. You are already complete in Christ Jesus when he died for your sins and rose back up so he can give you abundant life and that more. So it's like he went through all that so you can have a fulfilling not life, not so you could feel like you're less than because your mom and your cousins and all of them are asking you where your man at. I would suggest in a practical way to look at the voices, or where are the voices that are really bringing those kind of messages to you. Are you watching certain movies? Are you around family members that don't really add value to your singleness? In fact, they question it, they question you, they question your value, things like that. Some YouTube channels even you might have to stay away from because they kind of push a certain agenda that kind of beats up on women and makes them feel like they're less than because they're unmarried. And the person who's saying the stuff is unmarried themselves. But anyway, you definitely have to just assess like where are you getting this messaging from? Is it internal? Is it external? Is it a combination of both? It reflects on your self-confidence if you allow it to. Like Rika said, Paul gives us an example. He himself was an apostle, one of the most famous apostles in our faith, and he was unmarried. And so like that didn't stop him from pursuing his purpose, getting him some business. Like he got into all kinds of stuff. He went on adventures. He was teaching. He was like discipling other people. Get you some business, sis. Find you something that you're passionate about. It could be a hobby. It could be something brand new. I think that sometimes even when we get past a certain age, we get in the comfort zone, and we have to allow God to pull us out of that comfort zone by faith and try something different that's going to challenge and change our perspective. Because if you change your perspective, you can also change like your outlook for your future. Like, you know what? I tried this dance class, and even though I didn't have a dance partner, it would be nice to have one. But now I feel like a little more confident because I know how to do this new dance. I know how to go out and enjoy my own company. I know what it's like to see a couple and celebrate them and pray for them. And in that season, I believe by faith that I too will have that moment. You have to get to those places. But yeah, I believe that for you because I've been through it myself. I've been exactly where you are, and you can get through it. I believe you can.
I love how you said, get you some business, sis. Exactly. What else can you be doing in your life besides waiting on the guy, besides searching for a man? I remember before I bought my house, which I've now owned for over 8 years, I thought I couldn't buy a house because I was like, well, I'm not married. So am I allowed to buy a house? And those are the
Right.
thoughts that they have put on us as women, because that is what society teaches us. Like you grow up, you get married, you have kids, and then you'll be a productive woman in this society, which isn't true. So, Haley, you're going to have to change your mindset on the way you you view being single. I know that it sucks being around family members and friends. Listen, the cousins I used to babysit are now married with kids. And so that sucked for a while. Like, yo, I remember when you was like born, bro. Like, what's happening? And then being at the barbecues and the family gatherings, and everybody's like, where your man at? What you doing? Da 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 da. Girl, your eggs is about to dry up, whatever. Take it from a 38-year-old woman who's single. I have never been more happier in my life. I have been dealing with men seriously since I was 25, and I finally stopped that at 33, or maybe it was 34. Anyway, and I was like, we're not doing this anymore. If this is the way relationships are, then I will never get into a relationship again. Now, I do pray that God keeps my heart open. I don't want to build a brick wall. I want to just kind of have a fence so I can data collect as I'm dating. And it reflects on your self-confidence, because you will end up with anybody, any man that tells you you're pretty, any man that you feel, oh my God, because we get excited when we get picked. Oh my God, this man told me I was pretty. Oh my God, I love him. And then we're already daydreaming about the white picket fence and the 3 kids and the dog and all of that. So you really got to change your mindset on the way you view you being single. And if you need help with that, if you don't know where to start, because I know it's up there in the air, right? And we got to take it down from the cloud and actually teach you how to do that. I can do that. You can start with me. So if that's something that you need guidance in, and you're ready to make an investment, go ahead and send me a DM, and all you have to do is say boundaries. Okay, so the next question, and one of the last questions, and then we'll kind of wrap up here, Tatiana, is somebody asked, is dating hard when you're celibate?
Let's see. Okay, well, this has been emphasized a lot for some reason. I'm abstinent, but there's a difference between celibacy and abstinence. Celibacy.
Yeah, I was going to say, explain it. I kind of use them interchangeably, but go ahead.
Me too. For years, until it clicked for me. Like, oh yeah, this means this and this means that. So celibacy, in a nutshell, means that you are going to be sexless and you're not going to get married either. So if you don't have any plans to get married, and you want to like honor God with your body, you're not going to have sex and you're not going to get married. That's, most people are not going to be celibate in reality. Abstinence or sexual abstinence is when you are, not having sex before marriage. You have the intention to get married, then you have sex, because you have this, you desire to honor God with your body, not because you feel like you're going to earn a better looking husband if you wait, or whatever purity culture tried to tell you. It's because you want to honor God. You want to be obedient to God, and there's rewards for obeying God. Like, you save yourself again from a lot of drama, trauma, and stress. I keep your leg closed. I can't say. So to answer your question, is it hard? It can be if you don't have the right boundaries up. So you have to also understand where you're at with your sexuality. Like, how much am I high sex drive? Am I low sex drive? Do I want it? Am I lustful? Is it less issue? Am I lonely? What triggers me? What turns me on? What is this person that I'm dating? What are they doing to get me to want to do those things? Are they respectful of my personal space? Do they want me to come over to their house on the first date? Do they want to come over to my house on the first date? You need to, kind of understand that this kind of stuff happens in dating in 2021. Unfortunately, people want to just jump to the sex and assume that you're in a relationship or that everything's going to work out. That's out of order, guys. So when you do things that's out of order, there's going to be some stress and drama that follows, because there weren't certain parameters that were respected. So it's best that you know what your triggers are in terms of what turns you on, those good triggers, right? But those could also be temptations if you are with someone and you're dating, and maybe like there's certain times of the day y'all shouldn't be talking. Maybe that voice is too nice sounding on the phone. Like, okay, we're gonna have to cut this out because I gotta go. Maybe I can't go on a vacation before marriage because I know what it's gonna look like. If I go somewhere with this person solo, you have to think about, maybe what you've done in the past, what you haven't done, what is gonna make you do X, Y, Z, and then have some boundaries in place, not to be prudish, but to protect yourself, because they don't have any obligation to you before marriage. Let's keep it real. You have to be responsible for yourself. It's ideal, it's even biblical for them to want to cover you and protect you, especially if you're a woman and it's a man. But if he's not your husband, He doesn't owe you that.
Right, exactly. And so I will say this, the abstinence journey, and yes, I use the word celibacy a lot just because I guess it's an easier word for me to say. But yeah, I'm waiting until I'm in a engagement, marriage. I really don't anymore say I'm waiting till marriage, only because I am human and I don't want to say something that I um, don't know if I can do. Now, again, I'm 3 years in, and it is a personal journey. And that is something you have to decide for yourself. You need to pray about it, especially if you're a Christian. And listen, some people, um, uh, I guess, can do it and not have a lot of drama and toxicity and all of that. I can't. So I had to do something different, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So I just took that off the table. I said, until like I'm fully comfortable, healed, whatever, that is not even a topic of conversation. Like, we're not going to be having sex just because you like me. And I do understand that my body will betray me. The vagina be liking what she like, but we're not gonna listen to her, because I have said this multiple times. I need to put it on a t-shirt, that your vagina does not know if he's the one or not. He doesn't. And so if your past has proven to you that having sex early on with these guys is not healthy to you, and it's actually more self-betrayal, or you're doing it because you think, oh, it's the cost of dating and this is something I have to do, I would argue that maybe you do need to abstain, and figure that out and figure out your why. And so my why is even bigger than, oh, I'm doing this because the church told me to. No, I have my personal why, and God and I are working that out. So I would figure it out. And so for me, is it hard? No, because of where I live. Like, I live here, and I will say I'm not in a lot of temptation situations. I'm sure it'll get harder once I'm like talking to a guy and I'm getting excited and I'm like, oh my God, he likes me, I like him. I'm human. I'm still human, even though I know, I'm NLP certified. I know about relationships. Dang near have a psychology degree. Like, even though I have all of the tools, I'm still have a fleshly body. And it's still going to be hard. So I don't want to shame anybody. I love how you brought up that purity culture, because that is, oh my God, I hate purity culture. And what's funny is I'm working on either an article, or I may make it an episode, Tatiana, about the it's called Dear Purity Culture, You're Not That Dope. Because what I believe that they are teaching is that if you wait, then this is the only way you will get the guy that God wants for you. If you wait, I swear, I feel like they're teaching that. Like, if you just close your legs and then you get married, boom, marriage is going to be wonderful and blissful. He's going to be the perfect guy, and that's the only way to get the guy to love you the way that you want to be loved. And that's how I felt. Like, I always
Mm,
felt like I always felt like, oh, so if I do have sex before marriage or whatever, he's not going to love me. I always felt that, right, or he can't. There's some like mystical thing that's going to happen,
right,
and he's not
right.
going to be able to love me the way God intends. When you can't say that's true, and I'm not going to call anybody out in my family, but I have a lot of people who did not wait, and they've been married 30, 40, 50 years. And so I'm working on that, because I don't want to teach that it's okay to just be sleeping with everybody. That's not my message. But the message
Yeah.
is, the onus is on him and you, because it also depends on your discernment, your character, his choices, your choices. There's so much that goes into it than
Yeah.
just, girl, if you close your legs, you'll finally get your Boaz. Like,
Right. That's definitely like, yeah, that's definitely the toxic message of it. It's not giving like the realistic benefits of not doing that. And they always market it to women. Like, men need to
yeah,
be waiting too, because men be having like emotional soul ties. They be having those connections. Some of them have yet to let go of that first love that they had from fourth grade. So it's like, yo, if you're not having sex, then you have the opportunity to get to know that person and get to know what you like. Like, do I actually like this person, or am I just
right,
infatuated with them? So it gives
right,
you that perspective, clarity of mind. So if we want to even take it out of the faith context, you need that clarity of mind to make a sound decision of partnering your life with another human being who is flawed and have their own issues.
right.
Is sex enough to keep a marriage? No. Is love enough to keep a marriage?
No,
No. You have to have
WORK. Yeah. Yep.
facts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best thing, I told a guy this recently. I was like, yo, the best thing you can do for this relationship or whatever, because we're kind of talking, but I'm like, the best thing you can do is continue to work on yourself.
Yes, that's
Like,
beautiful.
I don't have any outside of like a few things that I have on my list of what I want a guy and this and that, which aren't physical. It's all character, character things like he must be slow to anger and all of that. But yeah, one of the things that I told him, I said, look, this is not about like, can you tap dance for me or be perfect for me or are you perfect for me? I just want you to continue to work on you. And that is the
Right.
best, because I've dated so many men that didn't like themselves. And TD Jakes, there's a quote that it's
Wow.
memorized, tattooed on my brain. Yeah. And TD Jakes said that he had never met a man that liked himself and beat his wife. And I was like, oh my God, I know, Tati, listen. And I was like, oh my God, I have dated men that didn't even like themselves, Exactly. So I'm like, why do I think he gonna like me? Why do I think that? And so, and we're not, and I think women think we're so powerful to think like, oh, well, I can change him. I can make him become, I see this potential. And now I'd be asking women like, why do you think you're so powerful? So you're God? I'm confused. I'm confused. Yes, we're made in the image of God, but baby, you ain't that powerful. Men ain't gonna change for you. Why?
Yeah,
Who are you?
that really grinds my gears. I don't know, maybe it's the Disney movies or something. We
Yeah,
think
yeah,
like
yeah.
we're Belle and their beast and our love will change them. Like,
Facts.
yo, like
Oh, Beauty and the Beast is the way, and I love Disney and I still watch the movies, but man, baby child, if I had a child, there will be so many conversations we will have, especially about Beauty and the Beast.
right,
Especially about Beauty and the Beast. My God.
right.
Okay. So I'm going to end it on this. So obviously today's topic was how to stop falling in love with his words, his potential, and getting your heart broken. And we covered that in this whole conversation. So if you're just tuning in, guess what? It'll be posted. It'll be on the podcast so you can listen again. But this is something that tripped up Tatiana and I both, with listening to his words and believing in his potential. And then unfortunately, we got our heart broken, but the onus was on us. It wasn't on him. Sorry. It wasn't right in the way that I was treated, the way you were treated, but the onus was on us. And I want you to think about this. Are you teaching him how to disrespect you? Are you teaching the guy that you're thinking about right now that you're dealing with? Are you teaching him how to disrespect you? And with that, Tatiana, is there anything that we missed? What do you want somebody watching this who is kind of going through what we went through and she's in this cycle? What do you want her to hear from you?
Yeah, definitely. Last point I would say just to consider the potential. Like potential is it can trip people up because you need to see some evidence that there's actually going to be the thing that he's saying he has potential in. Like, yeah, he might be a potentially good, spouse or partner, but where are the character traits that you're seeing now? It's not just the basic stuff. Like, can he, like, does he take you out? Does he treat you to dinner, stuff like that? Like, where's the husband-like characteristics that you're looking for? Is it all something that you made up in your mind? Is it in line with what the characteristics are of a husband in the Bible? And I would go on to say, like, you don't want to base it all and take a chance on potential. You need to have something more substantive than that. There needs to be foundation that you all can be, solid on, that you can build on together in your relationship. But
Absolutely.
potential is not enough, boo-boo, because men can talk all they want to, women can believe it all they want to, but that's not really going to get you anywhere if there's no action that's consistent that follows up with what they're saying.
Yeah, it's like that. I know I've told you this quote before, and we talked about it when you were on my podcast before. Men don't have to lie to you, sis. If you like him enough, you'll lie to yourself just to be with him, and that's
That
that
was my
potential.
story.
Yeah, because you see that, and you're like, oh, he could be that. Well, is he though?
Yeah.
If you
Is
don't
he
like him
though?
in this
Right.
moment, right? Did you make that up, like you said? Is it in your mind? And if he is not, if you don't like him in this moment, I would argue you don't date him.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait for him to change, because again, who are you? He ain't
Right.
changing for you. All right. So how to get a hold of Tatiana? Of course, on IG, it's Bliss for Singles. And then your website, your blog. What do you blog about? Tell us, because I want people to go to your website and get encouraged.
Um, Thank you. Thank you, Rika, for having me. Yeah,
Oh,
Bliss for Singles is I have been up for almost 10 years. It'd be 10 years
yay.
in January 2022. And so Bliss is an acronym for Black Love and Inspiration for Saved Singles. So I like to talk about Black love. I also like to talk about relationships, singleness, and dating from a faith-based perspective. The main audience would be Christian single millennials. So
Yeah.
like those who love Jesus and want to get married one day, that is the site for you to check out some inspirational topics that kind of like come from real life stuff that we see all day on the timeline, on the Facebook posts and the Facebook groups. And like, let's talk about it from like a mature standpoint. So I definitely like to hear what people have to say, men and women. So yeah, this is a great place to have those conversations.
I love it. Tatiana, thank you so much for being on the platform. I appreciate your message. I appreciate your story. And this is what I do. I help women, not only on the coaching side, but if you, I just help women with stories and sharing the stories. And God wants us to do that with one another. As he says, share your burdens with one another. And, I remember in the book, The Purpose Driven Life, and Pastor Rick Warren said, your greatest shame will be the thing that heals others. And that's what I believe that I am set out to do. And I believe you believe that's what you set out to do. Exactly. So, again, thank you for your story. I'm going to just put you in the waiting room real quick as I end on this. So, thank you again to Tatiana. Here's the thing, I need to talk to you. Okay. Thank you so much for watching this video. And if what we were talking about resonates with you and you need some guidance and you need some help, again, my name is Rika. I'm a certified NLP life coach. That means I studied neuro linguistic programming, and one of my huge pillars for Single You Academy, which is my online group coaching program, is I want you to be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's what the Bible talks about. And so this is what I do for you. You are a frustrated, loyal woman who is tired of giving second chances. I'm going to help you stop that cycle of trusting that he will change. And I'm going to help you learn how to set and keep boundaries with yourself and men. Okay. So I'm looking for 3 more to round out my summer group. I already have 2. I only do 5 at a time. I'm looking for 3 more women who are ready to stop this cycle. You're ready to discover your worth. You are tired of giving those second chances. In fact, you're on the 72nd chance. So, looking for 3 more clients who are ready to invest in themselves. The doors close on August 1st. So, yes, it is time sensitive. So, let's get your application in. You do have to apply to Single You Academy. I don't accept everyone. There's a certain caliber of women that I accept. And the first caliber is you got to be wanting to do the work, to show up for yourself and stop this cycle. So, if you are ready for that, because you're like, well, I want to be a woman who believes that I'm worthy regardless of my relationship status. I want to stop this cycle. I want to know that singleness is not a punishment, but I need my mind renewed. You just don't know where to start, but you want to be that woman. I got you. I got you. So send me a DM right now. Okay. Go ahead on Facebook or Instagram. You can send me the word boundaries, and then we will start the conversation. You can literally just say boundaries, and I know exactly what you're talking about. It won't be weird. Slide into my DMs. Women only, no men. All right. Thank you for watching. And I believe I'll be back next week with a guest as well. Bye.